piece of evidence that lies in the universe.
Well, thank you for agreeing with me.
I'm not agreeing with you. I'm saying...
You just stated my point.
Well, the one who has examined every piece of evidence in the universe has told me, and therefore I would strongly disagree with you.
Well, of course, you have to, because you're a person of faith. Now, let's say that you didn't believe in God, but that you believed in the Great Pumpkin. And you were to say, the Great Pumpkin has told me that the ultimate reality is one that I don't have to investigate, that I don't have to doubt, because I know the Great Pumpkin told me. He told me in his writings, right? Now,
well, I'm not aware of any writings that are by the Great Pumpkin.
Well,
and I'm not aware that
speaking hypothetically.
I'm not. Well, see, hypotheticals
of course, I'm
don't
using
work.
Linus as an example.
Okay.
What I think is an escape hatch for Justin, so that he can get out of that infinite regress and escape the reductio ad absurdum that he seems trapped in. So I'm simply making the point that as an agnostic, I acknowledge that you are perfectly justified to make the claims that you do, Pastor, based on faith. Because to have a religious belief requires only one thing, internal consistency. If your belief is consistent with itself, it's justified. You have an ultimate arbiter of reality, what you call the divinely inspired text. That is sort of like your generative source. The beliefs that you hold are generated by that text, and you can always refer back to it and to your interpretation of it to justify the things you say. It would not be rational for me to object to your doing that. I would only object to the extent that you inflict pain or suffering on me. And there are many Christians who do not inflict pain and suffering. For instance, the civil rights movement was supported by Christians. There are many humane movements, humane developments in history, in culture, that are the result of religious belief. I support those things. I only want to object to religious belief to the extent that it is imposed on me. I choose not to believe in the Great Pumpkin, and I choose not to believe in the existence of God.
Okay, and that's fine. But when you say...
Yes, and you see, you're required to say that it's fine. You must say that it's fine.
No,
You must try to save my soul, yes.
No, I didn't
but
say...
You have
I didn't
to also accept what I claim I want to believe or disbelieve in.
No,
because you're a humane man.
Well, I take it one step further. I come from the Reformed tradition, so I not only have to accept what you believe, but I recognize that whatever it is that you believe is ordained by God. And so I'm not even going to say that the burden of saving your soul lies on my shoulders. But here's the thing. When you say, namely, that you can't know something, you're making you're claiming a universal negative statement.
No, I'm not.
When you say it's impossible to know something, that is a universal negative statement.
No, it isn't. The thing about logic is that it comes in two forms, symbolic and non-symbolic. Symbolic logic can lead us to a position of insanity, and logicians warn us of this, as a matter of fact. They say, and this is the reason that logic is divided up into two forms, deductive and inductive logic. Deductive logic can lead to a type of madness. You can generate little boxes that you can't get out of with deductive logic. Inductive logic, unlike deductive logic, is not based on a finite set of rules that you generate larger rules from. Inductive logic is open-ended.
Yes, it is. You're right.
I'm being inductive,
see, if I want to learn about an automobile,
yes,
would I gain more knowledge by deconstructing an automobile or starting out with a garage full of automobile parts and putting them together?
Why do you pose that question in the terms of greater or lesser knowledge?
Because that's what we're discussing tonight, greater or lesser knowledge.
That's not what I'm discussing.
Well, I'm saying that we can know for sure.
Yes.
And you're saying that we can't know for sure. I'm saying that deductively we can know. And you're saying that you prefer the inductive method. Well, of course, you're a deductive thinker.
You believe that there's a finite set of rules, the Bible, and your interpretation of it, that generates all the other knowledge that you need to have. I disagree with that.
Okay, but when you talk about when you talk about logic, is logic the axiom for your rationality?
No, not at all. Logic is simply a tool. It would be wrong to think that a hammer is a really good tool to use to turn a screw.
Do I have to
Screwdriver is.
Okay. Am I obligated, or am I somehow constrained to use your tools?
No, not at all. And in fact,
why do you point
I wouldn't
out,
want to live in a universe in which you would be constrained.
Then if logic is your tool, why do you point out, why do you take the time to point out that I haven't reasoned logically
now,
and understand
you
your
did
question?
it again. You said if logic is my tool.
Right. I want to understand you correctly, so it's important for me to get this, because I don't want to misinterpret what you say and then miss your whole position altogether. Basically, when I said that you are denying, or that you are, what did I say just a moment ago? I said that you are making you're claiming a universal negative.
Yes.
By a universal negative statement, by saying that it's impossible to know that God exists.
Yes.
And you say,
but you see, that's a language trap.
But you say that
you're falling into the pitfalls of deductive logic.
Okay, but
where reality is constructed and restrained through language. That's only contradictory in terms of language.
But once again,
not contradictory in terms of experience.
Okay, once again, when you make the statement, you're falling into the pitfall of deductive reasoning.
Yes.
Why are you impressing upon me your tool? In other words, why are you saying must use my tool?
You keep saying that. I didn't say that logic was my tool. I said logic is a tool.
Okay.
It's only one.
Okay, so why do I have to use one of your tools?
You don't. I think the problem doesn't lie with you, Pastor, but with Justin. I don't hear you using reductio ad absurdums. I don't hear you falling into infinite regress. And in fact, many religious people don't. They're simply deductive. Okay. There's nothing wrong with deduction.
But
I feel perfectly comfortable with it. Okay. I just simply, when I choose to, step outside of it.
Okay. All right, we've got some other callers that are waiting patiently, and we're running out of time. So let me go to our next caller. Let's go to Gabe calling from Utah. Gabe, welcome to the Atheist Hour.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say a few things. Obviously, I've been on the phone for a while, so my original point, you've kind of brought different things up, but great pumpkin analogies just don't cut it. I mean, quite honestly, when we're talking about whether or not the great pumpkin exists, we're not talking about the originator and the sustainer of the universe. So that's a false analogy that Professor Ray has introduced into this, and it's a red herring. And the other thing I wanted to say is I'm also a teacher of logic, and Justin did not do the fallacy that he is claiming he did, the reductio ad absurdum, or an infinite regression fallacy. He's just completely wrong about that. All Justin was trying to do was show that his belief in senses or logic or whatever, they don't justify themselves. We can, as Christians, justify those things, and we believe that God is an ultimate presupposition
because you're misrepresenting
for our avenues of knowledge, such as logic, ethics, and other avenues of epistemology.
The conceptualization that you force upon
hold on a second, guys. I think what the problem is here is that Gabe is having trouble hearing you, Professor. And so when you were trying to jump into the conversation there, he wasn't hearing you. So, Gabe, if you can
basically distinguish between right and wrong, and that men are morally accountable for their wrong actions.
Okay,
I want to know, on your worldview, how you account for those things.
Gabe,
there's so many things wrong with that question that I think I'll just skip over them, and I'll point out that I'm not talking about my worldview. I'm talking about a worldview. I'll start there, and I'll say, one does not need to have a religious belief to have morality. Why do you claim that one does?
Well, hey, I didn't say that one needed to exercise morality. I said one needs to have one to justify morality. I'm not asking whether or not you're a moral person. I want you to justify your morality and why
does one need religious belief to justify a moral system or a moral code?
Well, because if you don't have the Bible as your objective standard, then morality reduces to subjectivism. And
how about the Bhagavad Gita?
Every man, there's no moral code in the Bhagavad Gita.
Well, then we need to evaluate the Bhagavad Gita and show that its system can't account for reality either. But
or the Quran.
The Quran.
You're dealing with the Christian system.
Or the
If
Quran.
Christianity is true, if God does exist, and He has revealed in His Word what's right and what's wrong,
I'm not going to accept Christian
for
intolerance.
Having an ethical system.
I'm not going to accept Christian intolerance.
How you justify or how